Good morning, I'm Adam Sexton. He's perhaps the only candidate who needs no introduction in this race. When he ran for president in 1987, he ran as the candidate of a new generation. In 2020, he's the candidate of restoration. Former Vice President Joe Biden joins us on Close Up this morning.
Happy to be here,
Mr. Vice President. I appreciate it. So, we're just about 2 weeks away from the first in the nation primary. Your campaign has said that there's no single state that's a must-win, but you're the man in the arena, and you've been competing as either the front runner or the co-front runner this whole time. So do you believe that New Hampshire is a must-win for you?
No, but I think I can win New Hampshire. I think I will win New Hampshire. But look, I think you got to look at the first four all at once, both two caucuses as well as the two primaries. And I think that's going to, who comes out of South Carolina at the end of the four, I think is going to be the, actually in real contention to get the whole nomination.
This fight with Bernie Sanders over Social Security, you've said that he, quote, doctored video of you from the Senate back in the day talking about Social Security, but you did argue that cost of living adjustments as part of a general spending freeze were necessary to cut federal spending and reduce the deficit. That aside,
that was 20 years ago.
Even if Sanders is playing a little rough here and your position has changed, what about those Democratic voters who say...
It hadn't changed.
What about those Democratic voters who say that Bernie's been consistent this whole time?
Well, he hasn't been, but I'm not going to attack Bernie. He hadn't even been consistent on Social Security. But here's the deal. I laid out clearly what my plan for Social Security is. I'm going to increase Social Security benefits. I'm going to raise taxes for people making over $400,000 so they pay the same tax on every dollar you pay at your salary, or at $100,000 or $50,000 or $40,000. That will, in fact, allow us to get those folks who are outliving their Social Security in terms of benefits, be able them to increase their benefits. Those families where a spouse dies and the total Social Security goes down, increase their benefits and make it solvent for that child of yours I met.
So when you say your position hasn't changed, you were advocating for COLA freezes then, but you don't think they should happen now?
No, I don't think they should, and that was in the context of a gigantic piece of legislation relating to what we're in a gigantic deficit at the moment. And it wasn't to totally freeze, it was to freeze for that 1 year, and if we had done everything else. We froze across the board, including the military.
Speaking of the deficit, how do you pay for all of this stuff? You know, this is a big, wide open question, but how do you do all these things you want to do and not somehow make the deficit infinitely worse?
Well, because you're going to significantly cut their analysis done of my proposal, how I pay for everything from additional aid to education to global warming to the whole range of issues. And the way I do it is I eliminate a significant number of the tax cuts the President of the United States put in there, and an analysis showed that vast majority of my tax cuts, over $3 trillion of cutting his taxes, in fact, relate to the just top 1%. I'm not trying to punish anybody, but for example, there's no reason why you should be paying, or the secretary working here should be paying the tax rate lower than someone making $25 million on Wall Street. They should pay at the tax rate that they, in fact, are taxed at. We should raise that tax rate to almost 40%, and capital gains should be paid at that rate. If you're at a 20% rate, you pay at 20%. So we fundamentally change the tax code to make it fair, which I've been fighting for my whole career.
Let's talk about the impeachment trial. You said you don't want to testify even if some kind of deal is cut between the Democrats and Republicans about allowing witnesses in. You said that you've been smeared viciously in this whole thing, so why not get in there, back on your home court there of the Senate, and make your case in front of the largest audience possible?
My case has already been made. There's not a single solitary person in this administration who said I did anything other than my job. Not anybody in the United States of America that has been involved at all. Not anybody abroad. I did my job, and I did it really well. The problem is here, this is all about Trump's ability to try to take the focus off. I did my job. All the administration witnesses under oath said I did my job. The question is, did he do his job? And it seems pretty clear on the face of it, he didn't do his job. So I'm not going to let him play this game that, in fact, let's try to divert attention from what Donald Trump did. There's no, if you have anything to contribute that can give light to whether or not Donald Trump violated the Constitution, tried to bribe in terms of aid to another country to get political help against someone who doesn't want to run against me. I mean, any kind of interesting you find it that they've already spent $12 million in negative ads against me that your station and others won't even run because they know they're lies?
What about that Council on Foreign Relations video where you're bragging about getting this prosecutor Victor Shokin fired? If average Joe, and not Joe Biden, is watching that, how do they tell the difference between that kind of pressure that you exerted and the pressure that the president exerted?
Because I was exerting the pressure of the United States government, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the European Union, and all of our allies, all of them, because the guy was corrupt. And I was the one who went to their parliament and said, it's time for you to stand up and stop the corruption. You have a chance to break out of this now. That's what that was about. And I made no bones about it. He had to leave. And every major European figure said he had to leave as well.
Who's your first phone call? You get into the White House, you're going to call a foreign leader, you're going to try to, as you said, try to pick up the pieces of U.S. foreign policy.
Who are you calling? Calling our NATO allies right off the bat. And the reason is to say, look, we're back. You can count on us again. We're not going to treat NATO like a protection racket. I'd be on the phone with the Japanese as well as the South Koreans and the Australians and saying, look, we believe we have a responsibility as part of our alliance with you as well. And so letting and make it clear that we are not going to coddle dictators any longer. We are going to, in fact, stand for who we are. We're going to stand for human rights, and we're going to keep our commitments that we made in the international treaties in NATO and other treaties.
Iran has said the Iran deal is dead. You're not getting it back, most likely. So what's the next step then if you can't bring them back to the table based on what's already happened?
Well, the next step is to make sure that we, in fact, bring our allies back into the deal. We're isolated now. Trump's notion of America first is put America alone. You had for a while there you had China, Russia, and Iran doing a patrol in the Persian Gulf. You have our European allies making a moral equivalence between us and Iran by saying you both should stand down. We have to get back to where we were before. We organize the rest of the world to say, Iran, you're not going to get a nuclear weapon. Period. And Iran, we are here, all of us standing together. That has been broken. It has to be put back together.
You know, you talk a lot about restoring norms and things like that. What's your read on what the president said about the attack on the base in Iraq that left American troops injured? Initially, we were hearing that nothing happened, and now we've heard that there have been some injuries.
We heard today 34 have traumatic brain injury. And this guy said they're just suffering from headaches. What's he doing? He either doesn't know anything or he's misleading. You know, we have over 300,000 people coming home from these wars with traumatic brain injury, with post-traumatic stress as a consequence of traumatic brain injury. Look, this is devastating for the United States. And the fact that, and this is the same guy we find out, the President of the United States, the same guy who referred to the members of the flag officers and generals as babies and so, I mean, come on. This is ridiculous. And the whole world's listening. The whole world sees this. And I wonder, my Lord, what is this guy doing?
Part of winning the White House is holding on to it. If you're serving one term, you're going to be in your early 80s by the time that's done. What assurances can you give to New Hampshire voters that you are going to be there for a two-term presidency?
What assurance you're going to be able to be here 3 months from now? You don't get cancer, God forbid, and something happened to you. You can't make any assurance. I'm in good health. The assurance is I will make sure my physical records are constantly made available. But here's the real issue. The real issue is not just beating Trump. It's who can, in fact, help Democrats win up and down the line. Who is the best person to help Democrat win the Senate seat in North Carolina, in Georgia, in Mississippi, in Pennsylvania, in Michigan? That's one of the questions here. We got to produce a Democratic Senate. We can do that with the right candidate at the top and maintain a Democratic House. Absent that, all these plans that are so significant we all have, it's going to be really hard to pass them. We have to unite the country, and we have to reestablish our place in the world.
Running mate's going to be very important, too. And it's certainly in this... Well, I got a job right now that I kind of like, but I appreciate that. But in this primary, there's been a lot of tough conversations and important conversations about diversity. And now that the top tier of this field is all white, a lot of Democrats are disappointed with that. So you've said that you would prefer to have a woman or a person of color as your running mate. Why not confirm or pledge that you will have a woman of color running as vice president?
Because it'd be presumptuous of me to do that because I'm not even the nominee yet, number one. And number two, whomever, if I'm fortunate enough to be the nominee, whoever I pick's going to have a relationship with me that I had with Barack. going to have to know that I can completely trust them, that we're on the same page on all the major issues, and that I can delegate significant responsibility to them at a presidential level where they can do it top to bottom like the president did with me. This job is too big for just one man or woman. You have to have somebody with you as a partner, and they can be honest and good and decent, but if they don't agree with you, then it's hard to delegate.
Another important conversation in this primary has been the role of the early states. And you've been through this process quite a bit, but we want to get you on record on this because there's been a lot of challenges to the idea of New Hampshire and Iowa going first. So whether you're the nominee or not, at the Democratic convention, will you support New Hampshire's continued first in the nation status?
You guys are really good at bribery, man. I tell you what.
Yes, this is the quid pro quo that I'm asking you for right now.
I don't have any quid or pro with you. But here's the deal. Look, I think that it makes sense to have early primary in a small state. And I think it makes sense to have a caucus in a small state. The reason why I'd be willing to continue to support it is you all take it very seriously. You don't just look at what happens in your state. You look at who's the best person to go on and help in other states. I find, believe it or not, Iowa caucus is the same thing. Very little diversity. But when you have Nevada and you have South Carolina following on with overwhelming diversity, which I have overwhelming support for those communities. In fact, it is consistent with looking at it as a whole, all within those first 4 weeks or so. And so I have no problem with the fact that it stays, but I think you have to have small states at the front end, and I think you have to have diversity as well.
All right, Mr. Vice President, thanks for joining us on Close Up. We appreciate your time.